Hello, MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday for June 6th, the 6th day of the 6th month. How's everybody doing today? Thanks for joining me today. Kirsch is first in the chat there. I was waiting with 3 minutes to go. Welcome on in. Michelle, nice to see you. Jericho, Murphy, hello. Good morning, Micah. Michelle says happy Friday. Happy Friday indeed, everybody. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Louise, welcome on in. Looks like you got over some technical difficulties. Glad we're able to get that sorted out. Thanks for joining us. It's 3 a.m. here in Fiji, all the way from Fiji and from the wee hours of the morning. Well, welcome on in. Hello from Canada, where it is 11 a.m. at the moment, at least on this side of Canada. KDM, welcome on in. I'm in Salim. Good morning to you as well. Lady Nutsy with the coffee reminder. I like it. I think it's time for a sip, Lady Nutsy. Feels good. Zapke, welcome on in. YX asking the important food-related questions. A toaster pastry. Let's call it that. We're going to call it that, YX. I'll say a toaster pastry and some coffee. Russ, good morning to you as well. Glad to see you are having fun with the event. Glad to hear it. Yeah, we'll go over Big Jaq and Lil Jill a little bit today as well. As always, good to get feedback from hunters. Write down some notes planning if Jaq and Jill were to make a future visit to the kingdom. What tweaks, changes, other ideas come up. They're all things that we jot down while an event is running. We kind of file those away in a handy place that we pull up next time we're considering running a similar or the same event. Peter, good morning to you, as well as Tarako. Good morning. Dallas, welcome on in. Glad it's Saturday. Well, happy Saturday. The weekend is officially kicked off in Fiji. Peter, hello to you as well. Well, as I said, we can go over Big Jaq and Lil Jill. Curious to get sentiments from hunters and feedback, as always, too. We keep our ear to the ground, whether it's in the community Discord server, the Facebook fan page, various Facebook groups as well, all various channels. We kind of keep our ear to the ground as well. We discuss different comments and sentiments that come up through players, and we often take some notes as the event is running, especially as we close down the event and kind of do some summaries, log some things away. We usually tuck it away in some of our project management software under that file, if you will. So next time we do that event, it naturally comes right back up to the surface as we're putting together the design proposal phase to figure out, well, what should we do the same? What should we do different? What ideas were around last year? So, definitely it's great to get feedback from hunters as well. Helps us take down those notes for ourselves. A good reminder, Jaq and Jill are leaving June 17. June 17 is when they depart, about the same time that Feedback Friday starts. That's usually when we update the game as well. That's 11 a.m. for us right now. So you can expect sometime during June 17. Jaq and Jill will pack their bags and they'll be leaving the kingdom. What does that mean though as well? Something we anticipate. There might be a little bit of confusion because there's both Jaq and Jill, the event, as well as an update to the Draconic Depths as well. And so there's some permanent updates to the Draconic Depths, but there's also the Jaq and Jill event going on at the same time. So what's leaving and what's remaining behind. And the spice exchanges, those spice plants, the geodes that you buy from Lil Jill, kegs, barrels, those bonus loot drops, those all leave with Jaq and Jill. So those will be gone come June 17. This time around, some events, sometimes items expire in your inventory. You can think about things like the prize keys from the giveaway as an example. The keys, you don't get to keep them for next year, so it's kind of use them or lose them. For Big Jaq and Lil Jill, at least I certainly can't think of anything that's going to be removed from inventories. Any of the geodes that you picked up remain behind. You can open them later, that sort of thing. An important note, the Incinerate option that the Elemental Caverns have, that's a permanent update to the Draconic Depths. So it doesn't have anything to do with Lil Jill being here, just thematically, she was the one that came and revealed the way to incinerate loot from the Elemental Dragon's Caverns as well. So you're going to be able to still incinerate after Jill leaves. And finally as well, there's a few other things available into the shop, but they're not specifically sold by Lil Jill. That's the Dragonhide Sliver Forge base. That was a new base that was added. A multi-cheese mega pack that is available in the cheese shop at the Draconic Depths. You can get 100 of each of those red, green, and blue cheese, as we tend to call them, or the fire, the ice, and the poison cheese. As well as the heart being able to be purchased with ashes. That is a permanent addition to the Draconic Depths general store. So those are all staying behind. They're not going anywhere. You can buy those things from the shop after June 17. As far as the Draconic Depths is concerned, the only shop item that is gone are those geodes, because they're being sold by Lil Jill, not by the shopkeepers at the depths. No items. Oh, Michelle, you found a typo. And you know what? Norm missed it too. Look at that. I even had 2 sets of eyes on it. Just goes to show. There we go. No items. We'll get rid of it. Thank you, Michelle. There we go. We'll remove the superfluous double items. No items will expire. Murphy, you've been love spelunking in the cave, eh? And spend some time in the Draconic Depths. KDM, unfortunately, Dragon Eye should have been locked the day before the event started, eh? No, we did cancel marketplace listings as part of the rollout there as well, but it's something we typically do for a few different events. You might see marketplace listings get canceled when the use of an item is changing in any significant way, at least. Chris, good morning to you. Welcome on in. Jericho, you like hunting in the Draconic Depths, so you enjoy the events that help there. You're not a huge fan of the eye cost in the geos, but you're sure there's a good reason for it. It was definitely some other feedback we had that the eyes were being looted quicker than they're being consumed, which would mean very quickly they would become meaningless. You may as well just remove them from the scrolls, and the scrolls could be free at that point as well. So anytime there's a resource for it to be interesting and add a choice of, well, how do I want to use this resource? Things need to have a cost associated with them as well. So we're looking for an opportunity to add another use for the eyes, and that can be said about a lot of things in the game as well. I think part of what makes MouseHunt and a lot of similar games unique is that they change over time. What may have been the case one year is a little bit different the following year type of thing, and it's not the first time some use for items changes and morphs as things go on. Andrew, you like the geodes and barrels, but you dislike the 90,000 ashes, which is above and beyond for you. That might be a good segue here for a couple good reminders about nothing to do with Lil Jill, but the Draconic Depths in general. And one of them is that the quantity of dragonhide slivers dropped by the mythical Dragon Emperor, it increases based on the number of times you've captured them. And so what I think that creates is when you first start in the area, 900,000 ashes is quite a difficult goal, or it sounds like quite a difficult goal. As you hunt in the area more and more, and you begin to earn king's crowns on the Emperor, maybe around a gold crown, certainly around a platinum crown, all the way up to a diamond crown is technically when you've reached the cap of how many slivers you can get the Dragon Emperor to drop. You get more and more slivers based on the number of times you've captured. It creates a bit of a snowball effect, where at the start, 900,000 seems like a very big number, but the longer you hunt the Emperor for, the easier that starts to become, or the less challenging 900,000 starts to feel. So that's maybe a little strategic takeaway as well. The 900,000 cost of the heart isn't necessarily a goal to set when you first arrive at the area. And it's a very long-term area. It's one of those areas that are measured in years, not necessarily months and weeks. But as you earn King's Crowns for the Dragon Emperor, then that becomes a little bit more of a feasible goal to set for yourself. But before then, those multi-cheese packs in the shop that cost 300 ashes, they give you Emmental cheese, which helps you capture the Emperor, which means you're earning those King's Crowns on the Emperor. So it kind of feeds into itself. I think at the start, the strategic choice is probably cheese packs are awfully tempting until you get enough captures of the Emperor that, okay, now I can start making ashes in larger quantities. All right, now I'm going to spend some of my ashes on cheese, but now I start to think I can save some up, and I'll eventually have 900,000 to be able to purchase a heart as well. So it's a little bit nuanced, it changes based on how many times you've captured the Emperor. And to be fair as well, that could be a little bit more clear. That's always been the case since the release of the Draconic Depths. The Emperor drops more slivers as you capture him, and the intention there was mostly with embers. The longer you stay in the air, the less and less you need to collect embers, and that kind of speeds things up. You get to do more runs in the Elemental Dragon Den, and this kind of feeds into it even more now. You can make embers more efficiently, but you can also make ashes, which means you can make cheese more efficiently. And when you get embers and ashes going very efficiently, well, now you can start to make hearts a little bit more efficiently as well. So you kind of the stages of progression. Another important reminder that I have at the top there as well is that the Incinerate option, remember that's permanent, it's not leaving with Jill. It only works in the Elemental Dragon's Den as well, which to be fair, maybe that could be a bit more clear where you have a regular cart, not from an elemental cavern. Maybe the incinerate option could be there with a little, you know, cross through it, saying like, you can't do it here. You can only incinerate in the elemental cavern. It's just too dangerous outside of the elemental dragon's cavern to be incinerating things. JL, you've been loving the incinerate option. Jedi, you find 900k to be a fair cost, eh? The Dragonhide Sliver Reforge base too. Yeah, absolutely. That's an important upgrade to pick up as well if you don't have the opal base, especially at the longer you stay in the area and as you start to get more catches of the Emperor. The base is going to be doubling sliver drops, and that's even more embers and more ashes that you can be creating as well. So certainly if you do not have the opal base, then this base below me here, the Sliver Forge base, is a very tempting upgrade as well to be doubling those sliver drops. As I'm getting caught up on the chat a little bit here as well. Jedi, good to see the community gather again to crunch numbers and combine the brains how to hunt in the Draconic Depths. That is definitely sort of the fun, as I was saying. It's nothing new, certainly for MouseHunt, of things changing and evolving a little bit over time, and that almost makes everything feel fresh and new all over again. Part of the fun is that excitement of it's the reminder that you're playing the game with other people. You know, you have friends in the game playing, and you get to kind of work together and have a common thing to strategize and discuss. I think that's certainly part of the fun of the game is the social element. The chat is jumping around here as I try to scroll, but I'm trying my best here. Salia is liking the incinerate option as well. Glad to hear it. Marcus, imagine getting 900k and a heart drops. Well, hey, the good news there is you do get two. When one drops, right, one goes in your inventory, one goes in the replica cart. So even if you did have 900,000 loot in the cart and there's a heart in there, well, you got a choice to make, because technically if you incinerate the heart, you can go to the shop and just buy another one. Now, it also costs 10 million gold. Keep that in mind. But some things do morph and change over time. Certainly while we're playtesting, there were a handful of times I did incinerate a heart because it made sense to do so, as much as you could not imagine doing that right now. But again, it just goes to show it changes and evolves. As we tried this out starting from scratch, literally 0 catches of the Emperor, and we tried it with 2,500 catches of the Emperor, a diamond crown, and a few spots everywhere in between, and it felt quite different, which did make it quite the challenge and journey to try to finalize everything. You'd configure everything in one way and you'd play through things, they'd feel pretty good, and then you change the King's Crown that you've unlocked for the Emperor, play through it again, it's like, oh, this feels very different now. So it does make a huge impact, the number of times you've captured the Emperor. So I would say that's a good goal. That's a good short-term goal or medium-term goal. Before even setting your sights on buying a heart from the general stores, can I crown the Emperor? And then, every hunt you make is getting you a little bit closer to that next King's Crown, and increasing the number of sliver drops you get, and that makes you able to make embers and ashes all that much quicker. Why the cap on the Mythical Dragon Emperor at 2,500? Just wanted to know better, because that's a diamond crown. There's a little bit of inspiration from the Bristlewoods Rift with the Absolute Acolyte mouse, and how the Absolute Acolyte drops different tiers of box depending on what crown. Now that one capped at gold. Gold was the best that dropped. So we picked a King's Crown as a milestone to go with there. And to be fair too, I remember there's some fairly positive feedback around the Absolute Acolyte and how that reward structure worked. At first it's not dropping very much, but the more you capture the Absolute Acolyte, the more rewarding it gets to capture up until a point. Maybe that's food for thought. That's kind of a good creative idea to try to incorporate a little bit more often when it makes sense to do so. LD, doesn't that kind of beat the point? At the Diamond Crown, you don't need a heart. Well, you can always sell them on the marketplace as well. And it's just a choice every hunter has to make, whether or not you want to keep going or not. And certainly some of the feedback, a slow and steady way to earn a heart. And hopefully this is done in a bit of a creative fashion where it doesn't remove that challenge at the start, but the longer you stick with it, the easier it starts to get. So, if you're the type that I don't like to buy anything from the market, I want to get everything myself. Now there's a bit more of a feasible way to do it where you can see where that goalpost is. Whereas, it's not everyone's cup of tea having a random loot drop. It could be the very next hunt, or it could be the next 2,000 hunts. You don't know, right? And so some players find that exciting, not knowing when that's going to happen. Others players find it a bit frustrating. They want to know when it's going to happen. You know, maybe it's a bit polarizing. On the other end, you could think of Queen Quesada and her journal theme scrap piece drop. The last scrap of that journal theme will not drop until you have reached 500 catches of Queen Quesada. And that was quite the polarizing loot drop as well. I feel like hunters who enjoyed more rare jackpot loot type things, they did not care for that at all, in that it was more of a slow and steady. So we're trying to find a little bit of a compromise so there's something for everybody. Whether you like the excitement of not knowing when that exciting moment's going to happen, or you like the more slow and steady, predictable route, even if it's a little bit longer. You know, hopefully there's something for everyone that way. Chris, does the chance for a heart drop increase with crowns? No, but you do, you know, stated here, the Emperor drops more and more slivers as you capture him, up to a maximum of 2,500 catches. So in a way, that is dropping a little bit more of a heart. You can exchange ashes for a heart eventually, and certainly by the time you diamond crown the boss, you're able to make a whole lot of ashes as well. You can, the math kind of works out where someone with a diamond crowned, in the time it would normally take to get 2 hearts, they can make about 3 hearts, roughly speaking as well. So you kind of get a little 50% boost in how quickly you can create hearts. And even that theoretical scenario where you have 900,000 loot in a cart ready to incinerate, well, you can almost think of it, if there isn't a heart in the cart, well, if you can put 900k loot in there, then that's a heart at that point as well. So kind of acts as a little bit of mitigation. When you need it the most, you can't get them because you have too little to catch. Well, there's other traps you can be using there as well, LD, and it might come down to focusing a little bit more on the journey rather than the destination, right? So, you know, you can certainly be using other traps. You don't need hearts to play the Draconic Depths, and in a way, when you get it, then you're done. There's no Draconic area that comes after it. There's no more difficult dragons to be slain. So once you're done, you know, there's not really anything else to do with that trap either. So you can kind of focus in a little bit more on the journey than the destination. Oh, Rimbabe feels as though it's better to farm money elsewhere and buy hearts, even with the ashes, which is never what you want from an area. You know, I might agree to disagree. That's a choice. I think that's up to every individual hunter based on your own hunting preferences, your strategies, and the other goals you have going on as well. You know, if you're the type that like to complete all the adventures, if you like earning King's Crowns, there's certainly lots of other things, other goals to set for yourself in the Draconic Depths as well. But, you know, you hit the nail on the head as well, and that is the part of a tradable economy in any multiplayer game as well. As some people have to decide, everyone decides for themselves which resources that they want to choose to go and pursue, and then trade them with another player for resources that they didn't want to pursue. And it kind of has a way of working its way out. You know, as more players pursue one particular resource, then it creates a deficit of another resource somewhere that makes going for that resource a little bit more appealing. So, you know, that's just kind of the fact of the matter of how multiplayer economies work, is that it's a choice that you need to make, and the more players that make the same choice, the more likely different players are to make a different choice. So it's all interconnected, I guess. Schoolwork says that's how all areas end up being, because people are willing to hunt at a loss. Well, again, it comes down to different goals. It's only hunting at a loss if you're only measuring your success by the gold that you're producing and not the other goals as well. So if you want King's Crowns, you know, depending on what your goal is in the area, then resources are your means to that end as well. So they're the things that you equip yourself on your journey towards those goals. And every hunter has to decide what goals are important to them. And gold is just a resource you can use to help you on that journey as well, just like your cheese and your traps and charms and everything else. Chris, you really wish Jill grows up next time she comes over. Eh? That's kind of interesting to think about, right? Is time passing in the game or not? I don't know. In some ways it is, but yeah, you're right. You know, Larry should start to maybe have a little bit of gray in his beard, you would think, by then. It's been 17 years, and you know, I don't know at what age he was knighted here, but we might just leave that to the suspension of disbelief, that time is passing and yet it's not for the characters in the game. But that's something interesting I don't think we've thought about too often. Zelot already asking where the new area might be at. We are going to touch base on that just a little bit today before we get to the trivia and wrap up as well. Does Jill know how to end the seismic effect on bait keeps, asks Andrew. I don't think so. I think that is likely to be an enigma never to be solved by any hunter or researcher throughout the kingdom of Narnia. Duck, duck, you don't need 100% catch rate. It's okay to miss every now and then. Yeah, certainly, right? You kind of don't let perfect get in the way of good enough. You can certainly dive in, and missing a mouse occasionally isn't the end of the world. That's that's been part of hunting since the very beginning. Some gray boxes and some red boxes are going to pop up. Even myself right now, I've decided that, you know what, an ultimate Dragonbane charm for me right now, I just can't swing it. I'm using extremes. I'm compromising a little bit here, and that might make me miss a mouse every now and then. But, it's a choice everyone has to decide, is how many resources do they want to consume based on the importance of the goal that they're pursuing as well. And, the answer doesn't always have to be everything. You could throw everything you got at it at all times. Sometimes you just want to turn that knob down a little bit, slow down. You don't have to push the gas pedal all the way down all the time, or you're going to run out of fuel awfully quick. So there you go. Number 4 seems to be the type of hunter that doesn't like to buy things from the market, so there's a more slow and steady way to work towards, and eventually you'll get there. Or you may have a pleasant surprise and one will drop before you get there, which statistically speaking is likely to happen, but not guaranteed either. Barney likes the cheese packs, makes the Dragon Caves more affordable. That was kind of the 2 pieces of feedback we're looking to address with the expansion, was to reduce the amount of magic essence you need to create Emmental cheese, but still have it be a bit of a choice and ability you have to unlock, as well as a slow, steady way to guarantee a heart if you want to choose to go that route as well. And so certainly the cheese pack was aimed to reduce the amount of magic essence. I think that was something we learned as well from both feedback and observing how players tackle different challenges. Is Emmental, the magic essence recipe maybe would have been better suited as used with a resource you collect in the area. And that was the inspiration from Ashes, because magic essence is ubiquitous throughout the whole game. Whereas maybe if it was something a little bit more limited that you had to choose, how do you want to use this? Do you want to make more cheese, or do you want to save up for it? It presents a choice unique to the area. Maybe it would have been a better fit. Sometimes when we're playtesting the area, when you're spending resources, the big question is, well, is it worthwhile to use this resource at this moment to pursue the specific goal? And where I think things didn't quite align is eventually we stopped using magic essence to craft the fire, ice, and poison cheeses. We had a pretty good amount of it built up, and we've done a few runs, we've completed the adventure. We started easing off on that a little bit while we're playtesting, knowing, okay, the cheese takes a little longer to make, but I can't keep throwing everything I got at it full speed ahead at all times, because it's not worthwhile. It's not worth a while to consume that many resources to produce that output that we're looking to achieve. I think there was a bit of a difference of approach there, where I think the lesson learned, well, if somebody has a way to accelerate something, they will push the gas pedal down all the way at all times, even if it maybe means they're running out of gas quicker than they should be. Sometimes you got to realize, well, I got to lift up the pedal a little bit. I got to conserve some fuel. And I think the takeaway was, okay, that thing that gives you that boost needs to be more of a finite resource restricted to the area to impose that choice of, like, how do you want to use this? Not do you want to use it, how you want to use it seems to be a more interesting option to put forth. So that was some of the inspiration behind Ashes as well, to have it, the thing that makes you more cheese, be something unique to the area. And it shifts the decision from, do you want to use this? Yes, no. Because usually the answer to that is, well, yes, it's good. Of course I want to use it. It's harder to think about things like, well, I don't think it's worthwhile to use right now. It shifts that question into, well, here's some Ashes. How do you want to use it? Do you want to save up for a heart? Do you want to use it to speed up some cheese? Do you want to do a little bit of both? Maybe you want to use it for cheese, and as you earn a king's crown for the emperor, now your strategy changed. I'm going to use a little bit less for cheese. I'm pretty good for cheese now. Now I'm going to start saving up for hearts. So that was some of the inspiration behind the Ashes. Barney likes the choice of making it a bit more complex, whether you keep, burn, or incinerate. Yeah, I'm thinking 900,000 ashes is a bit much. Now I need to do a lot of math to balance between burning RGB carts burning Incinerator. Indeed, it adds a little complexity, a little extra challenge. It's a new resource to manage, and resource management is often where some of the challenge of the game comes in as well. I'd say, depending, it changes over time, like I've been saying as well. It depends on how many catches of the Emperor you have. Whether that's going to affect your choices, and your choices will change over time as well as you kind of get access to getting larger loot drops to make ashes a little bit more efficiently as well. So I think it'll change over time. If you're just starting out the area, I'd say you don't need that many ashes. You want some ashes at all times, so that you can be buying some cheese packs to keep yourself going. But you want to make sure you don't run out of embers either. Running out of embers is a bit of a, that's kind of like stalling your car, and you gotta wait for the tow truck to come to give you a jump. All right. That kind of, I stood still for a little bit here. But number 4, you used your last ultimate dragon main charm and was still smacked around over there. They are tough dragons. Those dragons do mean some business. Michelle's doing fine with super. Yeah, everyone's got to kind of pick the tier. That makes sense. So, yeah, certainly. Ultimates are a little bit hard to sustain depending on what stage you're at. If Little Jill grows up, will the event scrolled out of view here. Will the event still be Jaq and Jill, or Big Jaq retire as well? It is interesting to think about how does time pass for the characters in the game. It seems like time is passing at a slower rate, but the seasons seem to advance just fine. Will future areas continue with a cycle of extreme difficulty on release and extreme nerfs, under less than 1 year? I don't know if it was that all that extreme. I mean, we addressed a couple pieces of feedback, but they did post some creative challenges. And unfortunately, it takes time to build things. Certainly, I've often wished we could snap our fingers and have a whole bunch of art done and a whole bunch of programming done. But, it's work that takes time. And it's just, that's the nature of it as well. We need to take that amount of time to be able to build those things using that feedback as well. Marcus, magic essence on RGB cheese was so painful back then. Yeah, that, like I said, that was a bit of a takeaway as well. It is a little bit painful, right? To the point where objectively, it's probably not worthwhile to use your magic essence to make the fire, ice, and poison cheese. It's usually the amount of resources you're putting in probably don't make sense depending on the goal you're looking to, or the outcome you're looking to produce either. So, that was good feedback and food for thought for us as well. Anytime there's that type of power up, it's probably better to make it a more limited resource restricted to the area, to shift that decision to how do I want to use something, not just if I want to use it. Why does Larry have almost 120,000 chrome temporal turbines? It's a little nod to a winter hunt long ago where players had rocket-powered sleds, and these sleds were being pulled by temporal turbines were pulling the sleds. That was so it's powering the sleds. Larry was first on scene there, kitting out hunters with their sleds, so he had to find a source for a lot of temporal turbines, so that every hunter could have one of these sleds. And then kind of the little tongue-in-cheek joke was you couldn't keep the turbine. There was no way to get it off the sled to be able to use it as a trap afterwards. So it's a little bit of nod to the game's history. Good old Larry is the only permanent character in the game. Yeah, that's fair. There's Mustachio. He's hiding out in the mountains. The king is around. If anyone ever spots him. It's a little bit of a mysterious shrouded figure. Deb, you currently have all auras going except the skull, and you're not leading the ultimate dragon main charm. Yeah, that's a good example, right? Everyone's circumstances a little bit different, and that usually means it's in an interesting spot where the answer to a question is depends. Like, should I do this? Should I use that? Well, it depends. Let me ask you a few follow-ups because it might make sense, it might make not. That's usually where the interesting choices lie, where it's not the same answer for every hunter. Calamity Carl is always around, just at the bottom of Rodentio. Shit, that is true. Yeah, Jacob, that is very true. YX, can we have a way to craft Dragon's Eye from opals, eh? That's an interesting thing to think about as well. That might be qualifying your kind of feedback and suggestions to log. Maybe not even just Little Jill, but just in general as well. Who likes the math and the strategize. And I think that's part of the fun. It's that social experience. It gives something to discuss. That's the cornerstone of forming friendships, are having mutual interests to discuss as well. And so, often the games in general as well become a great place to forge friendships because you have a mutual interest. The game that you're playing gives you a good thing to discuss. It's probably why people bond over sports as well. You show up, hey, did you see the game last night? It's a mutual interest to discuss. So, I think you're quite right that's part of the fun, is the strategizing and talking through everything with your friends and fellow hunters as well. A reminder that we're all social creatures. Timothy, will there be a way where we can collapse our current tunnel much earlier? Every once in a while, it seems tempting. It's only 25 hunts though, so where possible, we kind of avoid having those retreat options. And just, if you stop reinforcing in a few hours, your run will come to an end. So I don't think that's too big of an ask. And if anything, it just makes clicking the reinforce button a little bit more impactful. Sometimes things feel a bit more exciting if there's consequences to our choices, and reinforcing it is a choice with greater consequence if it's one that you can't undo, but you can get out of it still. It just costs you a little bit of time. At the most 5 hours it costs to get out of the cavern, and you're still going to get some more loot along the way as well. So I've heard it phrased, you can't feel the thrill of victory without the threat of defeat, and the threat of defeat requires there to be consequences for some of our actions. So that's a very small consequence to reinforcing. Well, you're stuck there for 25 months, so make sure it's the right choice. Yeah, Ken, exactly. Much like cartoon characters. They just don't seem to age. The seasons are passing though. A cartoon, there'll be a winter episode, a summer episode, a fall episode. The seasons seem to be passing within this universe, but the characters aren't aging. What's going on here? I guess fair enough. Same things happen in video game worlds. All right, well, on that note, what time is it? It's 11:30. We've gone over Big Jaq and Lil Jill. Like I said, we'll be keeping our ear close to the ground. We keep notes. Goes with any event, any release. And kind of tuck those away for the next time an event is going to come around. Hopefully kind of clarified, anticipate, just worried a little bit of confusion. What's part of the Big Jaq and Lil Jill event? And what are those permanent upgrades to the Draconic Depths specifically? So, just a good reminder, the Incinerate option, that's not going anywhere. It works on the Elemental Dragon's Cavern. Even after Lil Jill leaves, the Sliver Forge base, the multi-cheese pack, the heart, those aren't sold by Jill. They're sold by the general store and the cheese shop and the Trapsmith owner at the Draconic Depths. They're not going anywhere. As well as a couple good reminders also here, because they're not highlighted too prominently in the game, is that the Incinerate option only works in Elemental Dragon's Den. So there's been a little bit of confusion there, like, hey, where's my Incinerate option? And so, well, if you're in those low-tier grub dens, fire, ice, and poison caverns, you can't incinerate. It just doesn't work. You need the reinforced, you need that magic of the Elemental Cavern to make it safe, to turn the heat up that high. As well as the quantity of Dragonhide slivers. Really, that is a very important strategic element to how quickly can you make ashes. It really comes down to how many captures of the Emperor you have. So, using those cheese packs to help you get more captures of the Emperor under your belt will mean you can make ashes quicker, which means 900,000 starts to be a bit more of a feasible goal to set for yourself as well. So, it's a good piece of advice. If you think 900,000 seems a little high, focus in on those cheese packs. They only cost 300 ashes. That's kind of your route to increasing your ability to make more ashes as well. And then the 900,000 starts to be a bit more of a feasible goal. But even earlier, somebody was asking about what's coming next and what else are we working on. And so I wanted to touch base on, or give a little update on what else the team is working on next. And that is the Folklore Forest finale, part 1. And I thought it would be important to start calling it part 1 because it is planned to be a 2-part release. Certainly not the first time that something has played out over the course of 2 releases. You can think, let's see the Queso Canyon. That's an example, right? The original 3 areas, and then the geyser came afterwards. I've got an itchy eyeball for some reason. As well as the floating islands and the Sky Palace as well. That was kind of one storyline that came to a conclusion over the course of more than 1 release. So we're kind of planning something similar here for the Folklore finale part 1. We're planning for it to be a 2-part release. The first release involving 2 areas, the Afterward Acres and Epilogue Falls. Those 2 areas are going to have over 20 mice as well. Probably quite a few more than 20 mice, actually. I don't know if there's quite 30, but there's more than 20 We'll see. No more than 20 isn't a fabrication here. Give me no more new codices, more traps to earn, or more traps to add as well to your armory in one way or another. And right now we're about 2/3 of the way there for this part 1 release. The acres and the falls. We're about 2/3 of the way done. We have quite a few of the mice done. The heads-up display. Often a lot of work goes into the mouse illustrations and the heads-up display to interact and see your status in the area. Those are usually the two largest undertakings, at least in terms of time commitment, that take the most time when we're putting something together. We're about 2/3 of the way there. The mice are coming along quite nicely, and the HUD is pretty much in a playable state, actually. I'm pretty excited next week. I think we can even start a little bit of early testing of the area in a prelim, kind of a rudimentary way with a HUD that starts to look a little bit more like how it will when we release as well. So that was kind of good news to see. We're about 2/3 of the way there. But then of course we start testing as well. We start play testing, tweaking, tuning, and all that as well. That takes some time as well, and it kind of varies based on release. So things are coming along okay. Michelle says, oh, behind over 20 new mice. There's over. I don't want to stress the word over. There's more than 20. So we're saying 2 parts. Does that mean it will be like the floating islands where all power types will be involved? I think by the time the region is complete, that would be the case, except maybe Rift. But to be fair, Rift doesn't get used in the floating islands either. So that was definitely some of the original creative inspiration there. That was some of the guiding principles, was to try to involve all the power types in one way or another. Fleming says 21 new mice confirmed. There you go. The programmer, thinking like a programmer. If there's more than 20, then that means, all right, we are greater than equal to 21 now. That's another way to phrase it. Fair enough, Fleming. That's an accurate assessment. New lumberjack trap type for the acres, eh? I don't know about that, Jericho. Just getting the school of sharks ready, eh? Any way to balance your wire spool with your frosty metal? The imbalance is drastic. Eh? You know, off the top of my head, I don't know. I would check the King's Arms, but I don't think you can get those items in the King's Arms. That's a little bit of trivial knowledge, though. Persistence and fortitude is always a way to try. Oh, a lot of seems like feedback. A lot of players are interested in an upgrade for the Chrome School of Sharks, eh? Fleming, any title requirement known for the release? You know, I'm going to go out on a limb. The Draconic Depths is Viceroy. It won't have a lower title requirement. We can confirm that, I would say. And there's probably something you'll need from the Draconic Depths to unlock the next area in the storyline. So it's probably a fairly safe guess that it won't be lower than Viceroy. Keep the count low. You're close to 100% on silver crowns, eh? Well, it makes it all the more impressive feat, right? We can't keep the count low, otherwise that achievement just wouldn't be as prestigious. So look at it that way. You gotta be a glass half full kind of achievement hunter when it comes to achievements. You know, if you're glass half empty, then achievements aren't nearly as fun. You gotta be hungry for more. You gotta be ready for, yep, make them more challenging. Any estimate timeline for the first release? No, we're just a quick little update of where the team's at. We're about 2/3 of the way there, so things are progressing nicely. And I'd imagine as Jaq and Jill leave the kingdom, we'll start to talk a little bit more about the Folklore Forest finale part 1. We'll probably wrap things up with trivia, and this is a bit of a fun one, is which mouse has never been bronze crowned? No hunter in the entire game, in over 17 years of the game's history, has been able to earn a bronze crown for this particular breed. And there you go. Joel didn't disappoint. I thought this would be guessed very quickly. It is indeed the leprechaun. The most catches anybody has is 9. Someone is awfully close. There is one hunter in the entire game that has 9 leprechaun catches. And they are close to becoming the very first hunter to ever bronze crown the leprechaun. There's quite a few people, or there's a few people actually with 8. if I recall. Actually, no, maybe there's only 1 or 2 with 8. I can't. There's more than 1 with 8. Quite a few people have 7. And by that, I mean, I don't know, like 14 or 15. But in the world of Leprechaun, that's quite a few. But there is only one person who has 9. They are the closest to finally earning a bronze crown. And I will put this link in the chat as well. For easier clicking convenience, the reward link is now in the chat. That's why you can click it. Larry has a prize. And you can thank Joel for getting the answer correct so quickly. Fleming, honorable mention, was right, 2nd place there. Peter Lep, all right, trying to save a little time, not typing out the word leprechaun. Or if you're anything like me, trying to remember how to spell the word leprechaun. It's a challenging one. I'm going to say before MouseHunt, I did not know how to spell leprechaun, or labyrinth for that matter. Labyrinth was a tricky word to spell. I think I could spell it no problem now. Swift. It's definitely not the white mouse. I'm going to say many players who have barely started the game have probably bronze crowned that white mouse. Mobster does have a bronze crown, actually. I believe was Jacob's question last week. What's the most mobster catches any one hunter has? And I think it is a number greater than 10, if I'm not mistaken. There you go. Michelle has a bronze crown. Michelle herself has bronze crowned the mobster. I think I might be close too, actually. Now everybody's going to go check their mobster catches. What are we working with here? 9. I'm at 9. Trying to catch up to you, Michelle. We'll see. How many misses do you have? That's the fun question. I've got 13 misses of the mobster. The leprechaun, I have 12 misses and only 1 catch in 17 years. I've encountered the leprechaun on average less than once a year. And I missed 12 times. Whew. That's part of the fun, though. You can't be too focused on the destination. You got to enjoy the journey. And every hunter's story is a little bit different. After 17 years capturing 1 and somebody else has captured 9, that just adds to the fun of everybody's experience is going to be a little bit different. And I think you got to look at that with nothing but a smile on your face is the only fun way to go about that. There you go. Silra's also at 9. Looking forward to the next King's giveaway. Lisa's at 9. A lot of people have 9 mobsters. A lot of people in the chat are sitting at 9. Deb has 10. Oh, 10 misses and 5 catches. You've bronze crowned a miss. I've bronze crowned misses on the leprechaun. You know, another one that always kind of makes me laugh a little bit, my Twisted Carmine catches. If anybody wants to guess how many times I've missed Twisted Carmine, and you know, it predates the world of powerful charms and auras. I have missed Twisted Carmine over 1,300 times, which is a little ridiculous. I've captured her 5,300 times and I've missed 1,300. It makes me not a very good Twisted Carmine hunter, I think, but some of those catches are from a long time ago, or those misses rather. You got to take the gray and the red boxes with the gold boxes. Schoolwork, smiling through the pain. That's part of the fun. If you won all the time, winning wouldn't feel very exciting, would it? You know, the losses make the wins feel all the more fun. Duck got their first leprechaun this giveaway. Congratulations. You remember your first catch, you know. There's certain mice that they're special like that, you know. You'll remember them. They have a strong identity. There's mice, there's certain items that just, they live in infamy, I guess. Sometimes they're more infamous than they are famous, but then, you know, they're memorable things. Platinum crown misses. There we go, Joel. I've got platinum. I think I'm the only hunter who has missed her that many times, actually. So, task failed successfully. All right. I've successfully failed my task. Sula, do I have the most Twisted Carmine caught in a game? No. If all those misses were catches, then yes, I would. But no, unfortunately, I've missed her over 1,000 times, and that dwarfs. I think second place for most misses isn't even close. Last time I checked, anyway. Just have to convert all those misses into catches somehow. We need a magic spell called a time machine, apparently. Jacob, have I tried equipping a hydro trap while hunting her? Why didn't I think of that? Yeah. No, you need some heavy hitting charms, or you need an aura and some charms. She's difficult to min luck. I think it's just over 100 luck you need to min luck Carmine. So we need a better hydro trap. Somebody needs to get on that. If only somebody was going to add a better hydro trap at some point. That would help me in the Twisted Garden now, wouldn't it? We need a better hydro trap. I'm going to suggest that. I'm going to go to the team. I'm going to make sure we get a better hydro trap put in the game. Fleming, a magic time machine called an SQL update. Hey, no. Those are the forbidden spells. That ruins the fun. You actually got up from your chair and had a little dance, says Luis. And I got to look up 9 misses and 8 catches. I take it when you captured your leprechaun. Yeah, got up from the desk and did a little dance. That's part of the fun as well. The stories too, when finally that, you get the first catch of that rare mouse, or you get that rare job. That's what makes the rare ones fun as well. So that's it. For something to be special, there can't be too many of them. And so, there's not too many of those mice that have that echelon of rarity. Just like there's not too many items that have that echelon of rarity. But, sprinkling in a few, as long as you don't take things too seriously, I think it adds to the fun of it as well. It makes for fun conversations and kind of things to chat about with fellow players, but all good things in moderation. Sparrow says the Chrome School Sharks is so iconic. When did that Chrome School Sharks come out? The School Sharks itself is quite old. That came out with the Sunken City. I believe that is over a decade ago. 10 years since the Sunken City was released is kind of wild to think about. And the Chrome kit, though, was that maybe 4 years ago? I don't know. It's getting up there. For the 20th anniversary, anniversary Chrome School Sharks. Those anniversary traps were quite iconic for the 10th birthday. Those do stand out. Michelle says all the skins. I know, all good things. We do have some irons in the fire to rethink of how skins can apply. That said, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. That's future game engine overhaul type level stuff, but certainly a good idea. It's just a matter of the feasibility of making it happen. The time horizon is quite high, but there are some fun skins, and maybe there needs to be another fun skin for the Chrome School of Sharks. Well, hunters, I guess we should wrap things up as noon approaches here for me. I'll get back to working on things after probably a little bit of a lunch break. But a quick recap here. Big Jaq, Little Jill, coming to an end June 17th. So, make sure you're taking advantage of those bonus drops of the kegs and the barrels. So there's Spice Exchange as well. If you haven't already, pop into the Queso Canyon, see if there's any resources that you want to trade up. Those are all leaving. The geodes that Little Jill sells, those will be gone June 17, some point at June 17. Don't wait till June 17. Think of that as like that's the expiry date here. So think about June 16 is when you want to be making sure you've picked up everything you're looking to pick up. That's it. Hopefully avoid any confusion here. The incinerate option, that's not going anywhere. You're going to be able to incinerate after Jill leaves. That is just a permanent addition to the Draconic Depths. Just like the Sliver Forge base, the multi-cheese pack, and the heart being added to the stores, those are not sold by Jill. Those aren't going anywhere. Only the geodes. A couple good reminders too. You can kind of help spread the knowledge. Every once in a while, I see a little bit of confusion about why you can't incinerate your cart, and it's because you didn't do an Elemental Dragon's Den run. You didn't visit the Elemental Dragon's Den. Your cart has to be looted and filled there, and to be able to have that incinerate option. There was some cases, there weren't too many hunters as well, but we had to add that functionality, I think about a month or two ago, to remember which cavern you were in. So you may have been in a situation where you had a Dragon's Den cart that you couldn't incinerate, but it was because it was one from several months ago. But your next one you'll be able to incinerate. And we helped out a few hunters through support there as well. The quantity of Dragonhide slivers dropped as well too. In hindsight, this would be good to stress on the HUD somehow, maybe just have stronger feedback now that is more important than it was on release. But remember, the more time you capture the Emperor, the more slivers the Emperor drops. That means more embers, more ashes. So by all means, set your goal to working your way up towards King's Crowns. Start with a bronze, get a silver, get a gold. Start thinking about that platinum. That's a bit of a beefy goal, but platinum's definitely a bit of a tipping point, especially when you start to get the Emperor to drop over 1,000 slivers. That's 1,000 ashes every time you capture an Emperor mouse. And that can go all the way up to diamond. Imagine capturing an Emperor, drops 2,500 slivers minimum, plus the opals, plus everything else. When you incinerate that, that's a lot of ashes you can make by capturing the Emperor. So That's good stuff to keep in mind as well. I gave a quick little update on some other projects the team's working on, the Folklore Forest finale. Remember, it's going to be a 2-part as well. I just wanted to maybe avoid some confusion on whether that's going to be the last piece of the Folklore Forest region. The story is going to come to an end, but I think it's going to take us 2 releases to pull that story to an end. So, quick recap, but thank you so much for joining me, hunters. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the rest of Visit from Jaq and Jill, and we'll see you next time.
2.
You're a trap, don't seem to mind it. You attract me, I'm a mouse, you're a cat. I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry, oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back, you don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool. Broke my back, you don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. And just when you think you're safe, snap. Turns